They told my grandson to pack up his lemonade stand, but they didn't know whose backyard they were stepping into. The paper trembled in my hands, crumpled almost beyond recognition. It was an HOA notice, stamped June 14th, 2023, demanding Jamie remove his stand immediately and threatening fines of $250 per day if ignored. My grandson's lemonade stand, a tiny folding table draped with a yellow cloth, was more than a summer hobby. It was a spark in his eyes, a taste of independence, a small emblem of ambition in our Boca Raton neighborhood, and they were trying to snuff it out with bureaucracy. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you're listening from. Jamie, 22, had been humming a tune as he poured the last pitcher of lemonade into plastic cups. His hands were sticky, specks of sugar and citrus coating his fingers. He looked up at me, eyes wide with curiosity and a hint of defiance. "Grandpa, do you really think they can stop me?" he asked, a slight smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. "No, Jamie," I said, forcing calm, though anger simmered like the Florida sun above us. "They are the ones out of line. We set fix this and make it right." I slipped the crumpled letter into my drawer, alongside the stack of HOA newsletters, emails from neighbors complaining about unauthorized commerce, and scanned meeting minutes detailing the board's overreach. Every word screamed arrogance, every bullet point a reminder that their authority was absolute in their eyes. But in ours, it was just paper. I could feel the sticky heat of the summer pavement under my shoes, the scent of citrus lingering in the air, the soft buzz of cicadas above the oak trees. That moment, that smell, that stickiness, would remain etched in memory. I sat down beside Jamie, holding his small hand. "We'll show them what happens when someone messes with dreams," I said. His grin widened, and for a brief moment a spark, almost like mischief, danced in his eyes. We brainstormed that evening, sprawled across the living room floor, the air conditioning doing little to fight the heavy June humidity. "What if we make lemonade on our terms?" I suggested. Jamie's grin was immediate. "We could build a little cafe. Not just lemonade, pastries, coffee, everything." The thought made me laugh, even as fury burned in my chest. Emails were exchanged, drafts printed, receipts scanned. The ledger started June 14th. HOA violation notice received, crumpled, filed. June 15th. Brainstorm with Jamie, initial sketches, preliminary budget estimate $12,500. June 16th. Call with Realtor Lisa regarding potential adjacent lot. Every entry grounded the plan in reality, every document a foothold in lawful action. That night, after the sun sank past the palm fronds lining our street, I reflected on what had been taken from Jamie, not the money, not the lemonade, but the simple joy of dreaming, the innocence of ambition. I recalled my own youth, lessons learned the hard way, and the sting of authority misused. This was about legacy, about showing him that resilience was more valuable than compliance. I checked the emails again. Keller, HOA president, had sent another note, almost mocking in tone, about community standards and protection of property values. I folded it into the drawer, along with the first crumpled notice. Their letters were weapons. Ours would be strategy. Jamie was asleep in his room, dreaming, unaware of the plans slowly forming in the quiet of our kitchen. By morning I had sketched a rough blueprint on graph paper. A small cafe, doors facing the street, a little patio, enough space for community tables. I could see Jamie behind a counter, confidently taking orders, laughing with neighbors, proving that ambition cannot be banned. The ledger grew, cost tallied, contracts with Lisa tentatively drafted, preliminary contractor quotes in hand. Each detail anchored the plan, ensuring no step would falter under scrutiny. The more I examined the HOA's overreach, the more I realized their arrogance had created an opening. Their power ended at the property line. Beyond that, the law was ours to command. Every violation notice, every email with a stern remove immediately line, was evidence waiting for the right moment. My mind traced the steps. Purchase the lot, obtain permits, build a visible, lawful cafe, a beacon of resilience and proof that dreams when protected flourish. I recalled Jamie's sticky hands, The sun beating down, the faint smell of sugar and lemons in the air. That image became the emotional anchor for the next phase. Not revenge for vengeance' sake, but justice for a small spark of hope that had been unfairly extinguished. Every time I imagined Keller reading about a thriving cafe where he once tried to crush a child's dream, I felt a grim satisfaction, lawful, righteous, and undeniable. By June 16th, 2023, I had made a promise to Jamie, inked in action. We'll show them what happens when dreams are crushed, legally and publicly. That promise would carry us through permits, construction delays, minor disputes, and social scrutiny. It was more than a cafe. It was a statement. As the summer heat deepened, the plan took shape in my mind. Every day logged meticulously, receipts from Realtor, consultations, emails with city council, preliminary design sketches, all accounted for. I felt a quiet pride in our diligence, and a spark of excitement mingled with the simmering anger. Jamie, even asleep, would wake to a transformed world. And in that world, lemonade would no longer be just a drink. It would be triumph served in a cup. The first act was complete in my mind. Betrayal had struck, but from its sting a strategy emerged. Jamie's small hands, sticky and eager, had sparked a movement that would not be silenced. And as I traced the edges of the crumpled letter one last time, I smiled faintly, knowing the path ahead would be demanding, but just. After that initial shock, the rage didn't just simmer, it roared. I sat in my study, the blinds drawn against the searing June sun of 2023 in Boca Raton, flipping through the HOA newsletters like evidence in a case I was suddenly a part of. Every line screamed entitlement. Neighborhood standards must be upheld. Unauthorized commerce jeopardizes property values. Board discretion is final. Their words dripped with smug authority, a reminder that they believed the rules existed only to enforce their will. I poured myself a glass of iced tea, the condensation slick on my hand, and thought about Jamie. He was in his room, humming again, oblivious to the firestorm that had erupted over a table and a few lemons. My mind raced over the possibilities. We had the legal right to fight back. Yes, but there was more at stake. Pride, dignity, and a legacy I didn't intend to crumble at 74 cents worth of bureaucracy. Pulling out my laptop, I reviewed our finances. Our nest egg was modest but sufficient, just enough to fund a small, strategic campaign of lawful defiance. I traced projected costs, $12,500 for the lot, preliminary contractor quotes hovering near $18,000 for construction, permits, and inspections, adding another $2,200. Numbers didn't calm the fury. They focused it. Every dollar became a weapon, every ledger entry a roadmap. Jamie peeked into my study, sticky hands from his latest lemonade experiment, eyebrows raised. Grandpa, what if we make it bigger than a cafe? I mean, really fun, tables outside, music, maybe even community events. I paused, considering he had grown into a thoughtful, assertive young man in these past months. Even at 22, he understood the weight of public perception, the importance of careful planning. Yes, Jamie, but every step has to be deliberate. One misstep and the HOA will pounce like vultures. This isn't just about lemonade anymore. It's about sending a message. Lawful, undeniable. We argued, sometimes laughing, sometimes tense, about the details. Should the signage be bright yellow or a soft pastel? How high should umbrellas go? Even these micro decisions became lessons in responsibility, patience, and vision. Each disagreement sharpened my focus. I realized how crucial it was for Jamie to learn not just about business, but about resilience, negotiation, and seeing strategy through. Late that night, after the humid air cooled slightly, I reflected on my own age and mortality. At 66, every choice carried weight. I had watched friends falter under minor defeats, seen legacies dissolve because people gave up too soon. I refused to let that happen to Jamie or to me. This wasn't just revenge, it was mentorship, a passing of wisdom, a demonstration that even at our age we can fight for what's just. I printed copies of every HOA notice, email, and complaint, organizing them chronologically. Each document was a breadcrumb on the path to strategy. June 14th, first notice. June 15th, Jamie's ideas brainstormed. June 16th, realtor contact. The sequence was meticulous, almost obsessive, but it anchored my mind amidst the surge of fury. That rage transformed into clarity. Keller and his board had made two critical mistakes, underestimating Jamie's determination and underestimating me. Their arrogance had created opportunity. Each violation, each pointed newsletter, each neighbor complaint now became ammunition, to be wielded not with cruelty, but with precision, lawfully, strategically. I finally stood, stretching stiff shoulders, the soft whir of the ceiling fan blending with distant neighborhood chatter. The reflection was complete. Anger was now a tool, frustration a guide. Jamie's youthful optimism, my experience, and the law itself were aligned. The groundwork was invisible to Keller, but every decision I made, every ledger entry, every email printed, brought us closer to the moment where justice would speak for itself. By dawn, I had formulated a mental checklist: secure the lot, ensure permits, design the cafe, anticipate every HOA objection, and document everything. Rage had evolved into strategy. Reflection had sharpened into purpose. And somewhere deep in my chest, a quiet pride surged. Jamie would see that dreams, when protected, cannot be crushed. Not by age, not by bureaucracy, not by anyone. By late June 2023, the plan had solidified. Jamie's lemonade stand wasn't just a summer project anymore. It had become a symbol of resilience, and I was determined to make it untouchable. After reviewing city maps and property records, I realized the HOA's authority ended strictly at existing lot lines. The adjacent empty lot was, by law, their jurisdiction-free territory. My heart beat faster as I dialed Lisa, our trusted realtor, early one humid morning. "Lisa, I need you to check that lot next door. Sunlight, access, visibility, everything matters," I said, the heat of determination in my voice. "Already on it, Theodore," she replied. "It sets perfect, no easements. City permits should be straightforward." And neighbors seemed supportive. A few even mentioned they set to love a small cafe there. I exhaled, imagining the possibilities. Windows catching the morning light, a patio with small tables, Jamie behind the counter, smiling as customers sipped lemonade. The mental image sharpened my focus. The ledger grew. June 20th. Site visit completed. June 21st. Preliminary purchase agreement drafted. June 23rd. Initial contractor estimates received. Every date, every dollar, every signature brought us closer to reality. Contractor estimates ranged from $17,800 to $19,200, depending on landscaping and exterior design. I jotted them all down meticulously. Jamie became actively involved. "Grandpa, we need to make it inviting," he said, spreading sketches across the kitchen table. "Can we add planters? Maybe a small pergola?" His suggestions weren't childish anymore. They reflected practical thinking and a subtle understanding of customer appeal. We faced small conflicts immediately. Should the patio be covered or leave it open for sunlight? How many tables were enough without crowding? I realized that even minor disagreements were valuable lessons in planning, compromise, and vision. Each challenge, each question, refined both the project and Jamie's understanding of responsibility. Conversations with Lisa confirmed a small loophole in HOA enforcement. As long as the property remained within commercial code compliance, no violation notices could touch us. This was the legal backbone we needed. I documented every council conversation, email, and phone call. June 24th. City Council verification confirmed no HOA authority on adjacent lot. Notes filed. Neighbors began whispering, curious about the commotion. "I heard Theodore bought the lot next to the Johnsons," one remarked during a jog. "Planning a cafe, I think." Small, innocuous remarks, yet they seeded anticipation and subtle tension. I smiled quietly. Gossip was an ally in a battle of optics. Even the weather seemed to conspire. A brief rainstorm forced us to adjust measurements and contractor schedules, but it also tested our flexibility and reinforced meticulous planning. Ledger notes captured each adjustment. June 25th. Storm delay, contractor reschedule, blueprint revisions logged. By the end of the month, ownership was nearly secured. The purchase contract was signed, down payment tracked, $12,500 deposited and documented. Keys would soon be in my possession, marking the first tangible step toward our cafe. Jamie watched with wide eyes as I explained permits and property rights, and I saw pride and excitement intermingle with a sense of purpose. I realized something then: this wasn't just revenge, it was mentorship. Jamie was learning that obstacles are not just barriers, but opportunities for ingenuity and lawful action. Each permit, each signature, each minor conflict sharpened his resolve. That night, I sat alone, reviewing contracts, receipts, and city approvals. The plan had moved from imagination to tangible reality. The ledger was no longer just numbers. It was a blueprint for justice. I smiled, feeling the weight of age and the thrill of strategy intertwined. The first legal barrier had been cleared, and the next stage, construction and public visibility, awaited. And somewhere deep down, I felt the satisfaction of knowing that every document, every signature, every dollar spent was leading us toward lawful vindication, and Jamie's dream would no longer be crushed. July arrived in Boca Raton, 2023, with the sun blazing and humidity wrapping around us like a thick blanket. The lot next door was now officially ours. Keys in hand, contracts filed, ledger updated, July 1st, ownership confirmed, down payment and title documented. I could almost taste the sweet satisfaction, tempered only by the knowledge of the work ahead. The first day on site, I felt the thrill of agency. The foundation was poured, and the framework for walls rose like a small fortress of justice. Jamie was there at my side, sleeves rolled up, sticky hands now smeared with cement and paint. He laughed as we measured and marked, learning that vision without execution is nothing but fantasy. "Grandpa, do you think we can get a small chalkboard menu by the entrance?" he asked, already imagining patrons reading our offerings. I nodded. "Yes, and every item will have your touch, Jamie. But remember, precision is key. Each step counts." The contractors were meticulous, but not without minor hiccups. Rainstorms forced us to adjust work schedules. A miscommunication about wall materials required a brief halt. I recorded everything in the ledger, July 4th. Storm delay, July 5th. Materials substitution approved. July 6th. Initial wall inspection. Every small note ensured accountability, traceable should the HOA attempt interference. Neighbor complaints trickled in, subtle but persistent. "Construction noise before 8 a.m. is against HOA rules." One email read. I responded calmly, citing city permits, approved construction hours, and legal rights. Each interaction reinforced my belief that lawful, meticulous action could override petty oversight. Jamie watched these exchanges closely, absorbing lessons in diplomacy and strategy. Mentorship became intertwined with construction. I taught him how to negotiate with contractors, review invoices, and check compliance documents. "Responsibility isn't just about showing up, Jamie," I said while measuring wall heights. "It's about attention to detail and foresight. A minor oversight can create major setbacks." He nodded, understanding deepening with each task. The interior design discussions added a layer of excitement and debate. Should we use warm pastels or bold primary colors? How many tables for optimum flow? Every decision became an opportunity for Jamie to contribute meaningfully, reinforcing the narrative that this cafe was as much his as mine. Photos documented progress, from foundation to walls, from rough flooring to painted surfaces. Each milestone was logged, July 10th. Interior framing complete, July 12th. Electrical inspection passed, July 15th. Furniture installed. I could see the dream taking tangible form, and every ledger entry, every photo, was proof of lawful, strategic achievement. Even minor setbacks became lessons. A small equipment delay required improvisation, reinforcing adaptability. Jamie suggested a creative solution for a temporary counter, and I realized mentorship wasn't just about instruction, it was about mutual learning. His confidence grew with every decision, every small victory. By the end of July, the cafe structure gleamed under the summer sun. The smell of fresh paint, the faint hum of air conditioning units, and the subtle aroma of construction dust created a sensory backdrop to our success. Every brick laid, every wall painted, every permit displayed publicly represented justice served lawfully. I reflected on aging, too. At 66, executing a careful plan like this brought satisfaction I hadn't expected. The blend of strategy, mentorship, and lawful action had transformed anger into purpose. Jamie was learning the value of persistence, legality, and vision, lessons far beyond a simple lemonade stand. And in that moment, as the sun dipped below the rooftops, I realized the cafe wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about legacy, family, and proving that dreams, when nurtured with patience, precision, and legality, could flourish even under oppressive oversight. By mid-July 2023, the structure of Jamie's cafe was complete, walls standing firm, windows gleaming in the Florida sun, and the aroma of fresh paint mingling with the sweet citrus tang lingering from our old lemonade stand. But the real challenge was just beginning. Social perception. Keller and the HOA didn't yet realize that our victory was visible, undeniable, and public. Jamie was buzzing with excitement, arranging tables on the patio and adjusting planters. "Grandpa, do you think people will actually come? I mean, it SEP's our first real test." "They will, Jamie. And when they do, every smile, every cup served, every positive comment online will amplify the message. You cannot crush ambition, not when it's nurtured lawfully," I replied. We organized soft openings, small, discreet at first, inviting neighbors and friends. Each guest was greeted, served, and observed for feedback. Cameras quietly documented everything: interactions, orders, and smiles. Social media posts went live, images of Jamie behind the counter, coffee steaming, pastries lined up neatly. The online response was immediate: supportive comments, likes, and shares multiplying across platforms. Ledger entries tracked every dollar spent, every volunteer hour, every social media engagement. Keller's irritation escalated predictably. By July 18th, emails arrived, thinly veiled threats about property standards and community aesthetics. I saved each one, replied with calm citations of permits and city codes, and filed them in our evidence binder. Every frustrated sentence he wrote became proof of overreach, anchored in law and visibility. Volunteer scheduling introduced new micro-conflicts. One morning, the delivery of tables was delayed, forcing Jamie to improvise. Another time, a volunteer misread setup instructions, placing umbrellas too close together. Each issue, however minor, became a teaching moment. I guided Jamie through problem-solving, negotiation, and patience, reinforcing the balance between pride and practicality. By July 22nd, a cafe sign, Jamie's Cafe, was installed, glinting under the afternoon sun. Neighbors stopped by, taking photos, commenting, and asking when the grand opening would occur. The gossip had shifted. Admiration replaced skepticism. Curiosity replaced complaint. I noted every interaction in the ledger: date, time, witness, and outcome. Watching Jamie handle customers with confidence, taking orders, serving drinks, and chatting amiably, I felt a deep satisfaction. The mentorship had taken root. He wasn't just operating a cafe, he was executing a vision, applying lessons in responsibility, lawfulness, and strategy. Every decision, from menu selection to table arrangement, reflected the growth of a young man learning to turn challenge into opportunity. By the end of July, the community's perception had shifted. Keller's credibility was quietly eroding as neighbors discussed the cafe's lawful presence. Social media amplified the pressure. Positive posts, shared images, and supportive comments created an invisible but powerful shield. Ledger entries logged every reaction, every note, every small victory, reinforcing the sense that justice was not only attainable but inevitable. That night, as the warm breeze carried the scent of citrus and paint, I reflected: the social pressure we had generated was more than optics. It was a lawful, strategic instrument. The cafe wasn't just a business, it was proof that patience, planning, and public visibility could amplify justice. And Jamie, standing behind the counter, had become more than my grandson. He had become a partner, a symbol of lawful triumph over petty bureaucracy. Just a week before the grand reveal, the HOA decided to make one last move. July 28th, 2023, a brisk Thursday morning, Keller sent an email questioning our permits, hinting that the cafe violated zoning codes. My stomach tightened for a moment, but only for a moment. We had anticipated this. Every document, every city approval, every ledger entry was in order. I printed copies of the permits, the council validation emails, and a log of every contractor inspection. Jamie watched over my shoulder, his eyes wide. Grandpa, are they really going to try this now? Yes, but we said are ready, I said calmly. And they don't said realize how thoroughly we prepared. We responded to Keller's email with professional precision, attaching the approved documents, citing city codes and CC'ing the relevant council members. Every move was lawful, every word deliberate. I documented the correspondence in the ledger July 28th. HOA permit challenge received, response sent, copies filed. The tension was palpable, yet controlled. I sat with Jamie at the counter, reviewing social media posts and local community chatter. Grandpa, people are already talking about the cafe. They're excited, he said, pointing to a string of comments and shares. Each like and share reinforced the reality. Public attention was now our ally. A minor inspection was scheduled by the city on July 29th. I accompanied the inspector, ledger in hand, showing receipts for construction materials, contractor credentials, and detailed plans. The inspection passed without issue. Jamie watched closely, absorbing the lesson that legality and preparation were shields against arbitrary authority. Even in moments of stress, I reflected on my age and the satisfaction of mentoring Jamie. At 66, I had learned that rage alone solves nothing. Precision, patience, and lawful action do. I guided him through reviewing every document, every signature, every note, teaching him to anticipate challenges and prepare responses. That evening, we reviewed potential public perception. Social media would amplify any HOA complaint, but it would also highlight our preparedness and legitimacy. We discussed how to frame messaging for the upcoming gala, ensuring transparency and community engagement. The strategy was subtle. Let the public see that we acted lawfully and creatively, and Keller's overreach would unravel naturally. By the end of July, the minor legal challenge had been neutralized. Keller's emails became less frequent, and the cafe's progress continued uninterrupted. Ledger entries confirmed every interaction, every resolution, and every public validation. Jamie's confidence grew. He understood that lawful preparation, attention to detail, and strategic visibility could turn opposition into advantage. As the sun set over the lot, the warm Florida air carried the scent of paint, citrus, and opportunity. I watched Jamie sketch ideas for final touches, reflecting on the transformation from a crushed lemonade stand to a fully prepared, lawful, and highly visible cafe. Justice wasn't just achieved in paperwork, it was visible in every wall, every table, every smile. By July 31st, 2023, we had emerged from the minor legal challenge unscathed. The stage was set for the grand reveal, and in that moment I understood fully revenge, when executed lawfully and strategically, could be empowering, instructive, and profoundly satisfying. The night of the gala arrived like a crescendo. August 5th, 2023. A Saturday, warm with a gentle summer breeze that carried the scent of blooming jasmine and freshly mown grass. String lights crisscrossed the lot, casting a golden glow over tables and chairs. Jamie's cafe gleamed. Every detail meticulously arranged, umbrellas perfectly aligned, planters full of vibrant flowers, and the sign, Jamie's Cafe, radiant under soft spotlights. I led Jamie through the gates, his eyes wide with anticipation and pride. Grandpa, it's perfect, he whispered, almost in awe. Yes, Jamie, I said, clapping a hand on his shoulder. This is what happens when dreams are protected and hard work meets law. The first guests began to arrive, neighbors, friends, and even a few local journalists tipped off by Lisa's discreet social media posts. Cameras flashed, capturing smiles and the excitement of the community. The air was filled with laughter, conversation, and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee and baked pastries. Jamie moved confidently, taking orders and serving drinks, his energy infectious. I couldn't help but glance at Keller, the HOA president, who had been coaxed into attending under the guise of observing community engagement. His face drained as he took in the scene, a bustling, thriving cafe, operating fully within the law with public support surrounding it. Every complaint he had filed, every letter he had sent, Every attempt to intimidate was now rendered impotent by visibility, legality, and goodwill. I approached the crowd, recounting the story, my voice steady yet filled with emotion. They told my grandson to pack up his lemonade stand. I began glancing at Jamie with a small smile, but they didn't know whose backyard they were stepping into. This cafe is the result of determination, legality, and community support. Dreams cannot be crushed when nurtured with care, patience, and lawfulness. Photos and live social media updates captured the moment. Reactions poured in, likes, shares, comments from local residents praising our perseverance and celebrating Jamie's accomplishment. The cafe had become a symbol, not just of a summer dream, but of lawful triumph over petty authority. Keller attempted to interject, but I calmly presented the permits, city approvals, and ledger entries. Each document reinforced the legality of every step we had taken. He could no longer argue, no longer wield authority as a weapon. The public, watching and photographing, bore witness to his impotence. Jamie handed a cup of lemonade to a young neighbor, a smile spreading across his face. I watched him, feeling the satisfaction of mentorship and family pride. At 22, he understood responsibility, vision, and resilience in a way that went beyond lemonade stands and summer projects. Every interaction was a lesson in confidence. Every order served a testament to preparation and patience. The gala flowed seamlessly. Families lingered, enjoying pastries, music, and conversation. Cameras documented every angle. The sun setting over the lot, the string lights casting gentle shadows, and Jamie at the center, executing our shared vision. Ledger entries filled in real time, volunteer hours, supplies consumed, social media engagement, and community participation. I reflected on aging and legacy. At 66, I had orchestrated a plan that was lawful, strategic, and emotionally resonant. I had mentored my grandson, executed every step with precision, and transformed frustration into triumph. The joy radiating from Jamie and the community was proof that revenge, when blended with legality and care, was not just satisfying, it was instructive. Keller finally sat, silent and defeated, as applause rippled through the crowd. The irony was palpable. The man who tried to control a summer project now watched it thrive under public admiration, community support, and lawful execution. By the end of the evening, I walked Jamie to the edge of the patio. "Do you see what we accomplished?" I asked quietly. He nodded, eyes shining. "Dreams aren't set, just ideas, Jamie. They set your commitments, and when you fight for them rightly, they flourish." As the lights dimmed and the last guests departed, I filed the final ledger notes. August 5th, gala reveal complete, public support documented, social media impact logged. The cafe wasn't just a business. It was a symbol, a testament, and a lawful triumph. In that moment, as the warm breeze carried the scent of lemonade and success, I realized fully justice had arrived. Lawful, undeniable, and perfectly timed. And in mentoring Jamie through every challenge, I had left a legacy far richer than any property or contract. The morning after the gala, August 6, 2023, brought a calm that felt almost surreal. The lot next door, now Jamie's cafe, glimmered in the soft dawn light. The string lights still hung, droplets of dew clinging to the wires, reflecting the early sun. Patrons had departed, but the neighborhood buzz remained. Conversations about the cafe's success were everywhere, carried in hushed excitement and cheerful chatter. Keller's usual emails and complaints had dwindled to almost nothing. I reviewed the few that trickled in, noting dates and content. August 6th, HOA inquiry about sidewalk placement. Responded with permit documentation. August 7th, minor complaint about signage. Resolved with measured explanation. Each correspondence was added to the ledger, reinforcing the narrative lawful action had prevailed. Jamie arrived early, energized and already arranging tables for the morning rush. "Grandpa, everyone's talking about the cafe. Some neighbors even offered to volunteer for weekend events," he said, grinning. His eyes sparkled with genuine pride, the kind that comes from accomplishment and mentorship alike. I reflected on the subtle transformation in the neighborhood. Where there had been gossip and petty complaints, there was now admiration and quiet support. Local parents mentioned bringing children to see Jamie learning responsibility firsthand. Social media posts circulated the previous night's photos, highlighting our lawful triumph and community engagement. Ledger entries tracked each mention, each like, each shared post. HOA meetings became noticeably tense. Keller sat across from other board members, glancing at the cafe in the distance. His authority subtly eroded. I heard from a few neighbors that his credibility was questioned in private conversations. Each small victory added weight to the sense that justice had been achieved, not through retaliation but through preparation, visibility, and lawful persistence. Jamie and I spent the morning reviewing operational plans, discussing inventory, volunteer shifts, and menu adjustments. I observed him taking initiative, coordinating with delivery volunteers, and problem-solving with calm confidence. It was a mentorship in action, patience, foresight, and responsibility intertwined seamlessly with the thrill of success. By afternoon, the cafe hummed with activity once more. Patrons returned, drawn by the combination of charm, legality, and public goodwill. I walked among them, observing smiles, laughter, and interactions that reinforced the purpose of every strategic step we had taken. The ledger reflected every dollar, every volunteer hour, every engagement, a record of lawful, deliberate triumph. That evening, I sat with Jamie on the patio, the aroma of citrus and coffee mingling in the warm air. "Do you understand now?" I asked quietly. "This wasn't said just about lemonade. It was about defending your dream legally and strategically." Jamie nodded, eyes shining. "I get it, Grandpa. We did it together, lawfully, smartly, and publicly." And in that moment, I realized that our success extended beyond the cafe. We had changed perceptions, reinforced accountability, and shown that ambition, when protected with care and legality, could not be suppressed. The joy radiating from Jamie, the neighborhood, and the cafe itself was tangible, almost electric. I closed the ledger, satisfied. August 6th, community impact documented, volunteer support logged, social media engagement tallied. Justice had been served lawfully, mentorship had been delivered, and a legacy had begun to take shape. By mid-August 2023, Jamie's Cafe had become more than a neighborhood curiosity. It was a thriving hub of community life. Each day I watched Jamie serve patrons with confidence, balancing orders, smiles, and conversations seamlessly. Every detail, from inventory tracking to volunteer coordination, was executed with precision, and the ledger reflected it all. August 10th, weekly inventory completed. August 12th, volunteer hours logged. August 14th, social media engagement tallied. The legal victories felt just as satisfying. Keller and the HOA had grown silent, their threats muted by permits, council validations, and public visibility. Every attempt at intimidation had been neutralized by preparation, documentation, and lawful persistence. Their overreach was undeniable to anyone paying attention, and I made sure every interaction was documented, every email filed, every receipt archived. I watched Jamie laugh with a young couple at the patio, explaining the specials of the day. In that moment, I realized what true revenge had been all along. Not cruelty, not humiliation, but the protection and affirmation of dreams. The lemonade stand had evolved into a legitimate business, anchored in law, community support, and hard work. I reflected on mentorship and legacy. At 66, guiding Jamie through the legal, financial, and operational complexities of the cafe had been invigorating. I had taught him patience, foresight, and strategic thinking, lessons that extended far beyond lemonade and pastries. His growth was tangible, he understood responsibility, resilience, and the power of lawful action. That afternoon, a local reporter called, interested in a feature on the cafe and its journey from small summer stand to community staple. I provided copies of permits, correspondence with the HOA, and ledger summaries. The story highlighted lawful triumph and strategic mentorship, ensuring that our victory was public and documented. By August 15th, 2023, the cafe's operations were stable, community engagement was thriving, and the HOA's credibility had eroded further. I walked past the lot one evening, the sunset casting long shadows across the tables. Jamie waved from the patio, laughter spilling into the warm air. I smiled, quietly reflecting true revenge is measured not by harm to others, but by the preservation and flourishing of dreams. Every document, every ledger entry, every permit had been a tool of lawful empowerment. The legacy we were building was enduring, visible, and just. The cafe had settled into its rhythm by late August 2023. The hum of conversation, the clinking of cups, and the soft aroma of baked pastries filled the lot every morning and afternoon. Jamie moved confidently among patrons, his energy calm yet purposeful. I watched from a shaded corner of the patio, savoring a moment of quiet pride. Sitting with him after the morning rush, I spoke softly. Jamie, look at what you've built. Not just this cafe, but the trust, the respect, and the relationships. This is legacy earned through effort, patience, and strategy. He smiled, wiping a hand on his apron. I see it, Grandpa, and I understand now. It's SEP's more than just running a business. It's SEP's about protecting dreams and doing it the right way. I nodded, thinking of all the steps we had taken, documenting every HOA notice, every email, every city council validation, securing permits, coordinating contractors, mentoring volunteers, navigating minor conflicts, rain delays, and scheduling hiccups. Each act of diligence had compounded into something bigger than the sum of its parts. The sun dipped low over the horizon, painting the cafe in golden light. I reflected on aging and the lessons it brings. At 66, I had learned that legacy isn't simply what you leave behind. It's what you teach, what you inspire, and what you empower others to carry forward. Jamie wasn't just my grandson. He was a partner in strategy, a student of resilience, and the living embodiment of the principle that dreams cannot be stolen when nurtured lawfully. I sipped my coffee, inhaling the faint scent of citrus and warm pastry, and felt a quiet satisfaction. Our lawful revenge had achieved more than I had anticipated. It had built character, reinforced family bonds, and demonstrated to a community that ambition, when protected thoughtfully, could not be crushed. You didn't lose me. You gave me away, I whispered to myself, thinking of the wisdom passed along and the dreams preserved. The phrase lingered in the warm air, a quiet epitaph to our journey. As twilight settled, I looked at Jamie arranging chairs for the evening, and I understood fully the cafe, the mentorship, the lawful triumph. It was all a reflection of what careful planning, patience, and courage could achieve. Dreams endured, family bonds strengthened, and a legacy was secured. Weeks passed, and the ripple effects of Jamie's cafe spread through our Boca Raton neighborhood. By mid-August 2023, HOA meetings had shifted tone. Where once tension and complaint dominated, transparency and dialogue began to replace veiled threats. Board members now addressed issues openly, often referencing our lawful preparations as a benchmark for compliance and community engagement. Jamie thrived in this environment, coordinating small workshops on entrepreneurship for neighborhood teens. Grandpa, they're listening. Look at them taking notes, he said one afternoon, eyes bright with excitement. I smiled, recognizing that our cafe had evolved beyond lemonade and pastries. It had become a catalyst for lawful empowerment and mentorship, inspiring others to pursue their own dreams responsibly. Neighbors approached, offering help with weekend events or donating supplies. Ledger entries logged every volunteer hour, materials contribution, and social engagement. The atmosphere was collaborative rather than adversarial. Even those who had once whispered criticisms now spoke of the cafe with admiration. I watched from the patio as Jamie guided a group of teens through the basics of customer service. His voice was confident yet patient, explaining responsibility, attention to detail, and the importance of preparation. I realized in that moment that mentorship had multiplied. What began as one lesson in resilience for my grandson was now impacting the wider community. Small micro-conflicts arose, of course, a miscommunication about table arrangements, a minor scheduling hiccup for a weekend event, but each was resolved smoothly. Jamie handled them adeptly, using the strategies I had taught him: communication, patience, and foresight. I documented everything, reinforcing the continuity of our efforts and the legitimacy of our enterprise. The cafe had become a symbol, not only of lawful triumph, but of community growth. Each visitor, each conversation, each shared success story strengthen the network of support we had carefully cultivated. The HOA's presence, once oppressive, had now evolved into observation and grudging respect. As evening settled over the lot, the golden glow of string lights highlighted smiling faces, and the scent of pastries mingled with citrus from our original lemonade stand. I sat back, reflecting on the journey. Betrayal had sparked action, patience had refined strategy, and mentorship had multiplied impact. The neighborhood had transformed alongside us, embracing lawful achievement, family loyalty, and the enduring power of dreams protected with care. By August 20th, 2023, ledger entries confirmed not just operational success but the social and cultural transformation that our cafe had fostered. Jamie looked at me, eyes shining. "Grandpa, this feels bigger than us," he said. And he was right. It was no longer just a business or a summer victory. It was a movement of inspiration, mentorship, and lawful resilience. The final twist arrived subtly, almost humorously. August 25th, 2023, the HOA had organized a neighborhood recognition event, an annual gathering meant to celebrate property and community involvement. I received the invitation with a quiet smirk. Jamie, curious, glanced at the envelope. "Grandpa, they want us there?" "Yes," I said, folding it neatly. "And we shall go because this time the tables have turned." We arrived early, Jamie carrying a tray of his signature lemonade. The lot was buzzing with residents, board members, and the usual hum of polite conversation. Keller sat across the main tables, adjusting his tie, eyes darting to the patio, our cafe. His expression shifted as soon as he spotted Jamie serving drinks with ease and confidence. The irony was delicious. The very stand he had tried to suppress was now a symbol of competence, visibility, and lawful triumph. Neighbors noticed immediately. Whispers spread. "Isn't that the cafe Theodore and Jamie built? Looks like they've turned lemonade into a legacy." Cameras flashed, phones were lifted, and social media posts began almost instantly. Ledger entries tracked each interaction, compliments, volunteers stepping forward, guests photographing Jamie in action. I stood beside him, watching the room shift subtly. Keller's authority was overshadowed by admiration and laughter. He could no longer dominate the narrative. The community, witnesses, and social media had rendered his attempts at control moot. Jamie passed him a cup of lemonade with a confident smile. Keller accepted it reluctantly, tasting the drink, and for the first time I saw genuine respect, or at least acknowledgement, flicker in his eyes. Jamie leaned close. "Grandpa," they set her noticing, "aren't set they?" "Yes, Jamie," I said softly. "And that sets the point. Dreams protected with care and legality become impossible to ignore." Throughout the event, residents complimented Jamie on his initiative, the cafe's design, and its contributions to community spirit. Keller could only sit and watch as admiration replaced skepticism. Each moment of irony was a reminder that lawful preparation, mentorship, and perseverance could create outcomes far sweeter than mere vengeance. As the sun set, the golden glow bathed the cafe and patio. The air carried the combined scent of fresh lemonade, pastries, and laughter. I documented every detail in the ledger. August 25th. HOA recognition event attended, public reactions logged, social media impact recorded. The cafe had not only survived scrutiny, it had flourished under it. That evening, Jamie and I cleaned tables together, sharing quiet smiles. "Grandpa, it really is ironic, isn't it?" he said, laughter dancing in his voice. "Yes," I replied, looking around. "The ones who tried to control us are now witnessing the success they couldn't set prevent. And the best part? It was done lawfully, thoughtfully, and together. Justice sweet, lawful, and undeniable." By early September 2023, Jamie's Cafe had become more than just a local business. It had evolved into a hub of community activity. The summer sun still lingered in the mornings, warming the patio tables and the cheerful chatter of residents. Families arrived with children in tow, curious about workshops and weekend events that Jamie had started organizing. I watched him direct volunteers, coordinate schedules, and guide young participants through simple business exercises. "Grandpa, look, they're paying attention. They actually want to learn," he whispered, his eyes bright with excitement. I smiled, feeling a surge of pride. The cafe had become a living classroom, and Jamie had become a teacher. The ledger filled steadily. September 3rd. 15 youth volunteers attended first workshop. September 4th. Community gardening event hosted September 6th. Local families provided feedback on menu and layout. Each entry was more than numbers. They were proof that preparation, mentorship, and lawful action could ripple outward. Neighbors approached us with contributions, fresh flowers for planters, books for mini libraries on the patio, and even small pastries donated by friends. The air buzzed with collaboration, laughter, and the faint aroma of citrus and coffee. For the first time, I noticed how deeply our lawful, persistent actions had inspired the neighborhood. Jamie's energy was infectious. He guided a group of teens through a customer simulation, teaching them to take orders, manage inventory, and interact politely. I stood back, watching him translate lessons into practice, realizing that mentorship extended far beyond family. The cafe had become a beacon, not only of lawful triumph but of community empowerment. Keller and the HOA were notably absent that day. Their authority quietly diminished. Their attempts to control, to bully, or to restrict had failed entirely. Instead, the neighborhood had rallied around Jamie's initiative, reinforcing the idea that lawful persistence, transparency, and integrity could win hearts as well as battles. By evening, as the sun dipped low, casting golden reflections on the cafe windows, I sat beside Jamie and noted each volunteer, each contribution, and each smile in the ledger. The community's embrace was unmistakable, a tangible, living testament to lawful victory, mentorship, and the enduring power of dreams nurtured with care. It was a quiet Tuesday morning, September 12th, 2023, when the call came. A local journalist from the Boca Raton Times wanted to feature Jamie's Cafe for its community engagement and lawful triumph over HOA overreach. My heart quickened. After months of planning, mentoring, and documenting every step, our story was about to be shared publicly, a recognition that went far beyond mere publicity. Jamie practically bounced in excitement. "Grandpa, they want to write about us? That's amazing." His youthful enthusiasm reminded me of the very first lemonade stand, sticky fingers and hopeful eyes, and I marveled at how far we had come. The reporter arrived mid-morning, notepad in hand, snapping photos of the cafe, the patio, and Jamie in action. I guided him through our documentation, permits, emails, city approvals, and detailed ledger entries. Each piece of evidence underscored the lawful, careful steps we had taken, making it impossible to question our legitimacy. Meanwhile, Keller and the HOA had also been tipped off. I watched from the patio as he arrived reluctantly, forced to witness our recognition firsthand. His eyes flicked nervously between the camera flashes and the happy patrons, a stark contrast to the authority he had tried to wield months ago. The irony was delicious. The man who had tried to crush a dream now watched it flourish under public acclaim. Jamie, poised and confident, explained to the reporter how the cafe had evolved, from a lemonade stand blocked by bureaucracy to a thriving community hub. His voice was steady, proud, and articulate, reflecting lessons learned in responsibility, patience, and lawful strategy. Neighbors chimed in, sharing stories of workshops, volunteer efforts, and community events. Ledger entries logged each interaction, volunteer hours, social media posts, and positive feedback. Every detail reinforced the narrative of lawful triumph, mentorship, and communal growth. By the afternoon, the article was drafted, highlighting Jamie's initiative, the cafe's impact, and our adherence to legality at every step. Keller watched quietly, a mixture of disbelief and reluctant respect crossing his face. He could not dispute the recognition. It was public, documented, and undeniable. As the journalist left, Jamie turned to me. "Grandpa, this is bigger than we imagined." I smiled, thinking of the long road from sticky lemonade cups to legitimate, lawful recognition. Indeed, lawful persistence, strategic mentorship, and community engagement had not only achieved justice but had earned the acknowledgement we had worked so hard to deserve. By late September 2023, Jamie's Cafe had fully cemented its place in the neighborhood. The lot, once empty and overlooked, now buzzed with life and purpose. Children arrived for workshops, parents sipped coffee while chatting, and volunteers moved seamlessly from tables to counters, contributing to a shared sense of accomplishment. Every ledger entry, volunteer hours, community donations, social media interactions, reflected a thriving ecosystem built on lawful action and mentorship. I stood on the patio, watching Jamie engage effortlessly with patrons. At 22, he had grown into a confident, thoughtful young man who understood responsibility, planning, and resilience. I felt a deep, quiet pride. This was more than a business. It was a living embodiment of the lessons I had imparted: patience, strategy, and ethical triumph. Keller and the HOA were no longer a looming shadow. Their authority had been tempered, their overreach exposed, and the community had witnessed our success firsthand. The irony was sweet. Those who had attempted to suppress a dream were now observers of its flourishing, unable to intervene. Jamie approached, carrying a tray of lemonade. "Grandpa, it feels like this is ours. Really ours," he said softly, eyes bright with satisfaction. "Yes, Jamie," I replied. "And the best part is that every step we took was lawful, deliberate, and guided by integrity. This isn't just victory. It sets a legacy, one that shows dreams cannot be stolen when nurtured carefully and courageously." As the golden afternoon sun cast long shadows across the patio, I reflected on the journey, from a small lemonade stand blocked by bureaucracy to a thriving cafe celebrated by the community. We had transformed betrayal into mentorship, anger into strategy, and dreams into reality. I poured myself a cup of lemonade, inhaling the sweet citrus scent mingling with warm pastries. Watching Jamie laugh with neighbors, seeing volunteers engage with young learners, I understood fully: legacy isn't just about buildings or achievements. It's about the lessons, values, and resilience passed to the next generation. "You didn't lose me, you gave me away," I whispered to myself, letting the words linger. The cafe, the mentorship, and the community impact were now permanent, visible, and lawful. Dreams endured, bonds strengthened, and the legacy we built together was secured for years to come.